Sky Sports News that it looks like Vinicius Jr. will be remaining at Real Madrid. So he's set to stay with the Spanish club because Real Madrid have got no intention of selling him, and they are confident now that they will agree a new contract with Vinicius Jr. Remember, Vinicius Jr. has entered the final year of his contract. The last thing Real Madrid want is to be in a situation in 6 months' time where he can sign a pre-contract agreement with a club outside Spain and then join any club in the world for free this time next summer. Remember, Arsenal have been keeping a close eye on his situation. They are interested in Vinicius Jr. because of his contract situation. They were closely monitoring that situation. But the news we're getting now is he looks set to stay at the Bernabeu. Earlier on this week, Sky Sports News reported that further talks between Vinicius Jr.'s representatives and the club's Real Madrid were planned. It looks like, given this news, that those talks are probably going positively between both parties because there is a increased confidence now from Real Madrid that Vinicius Jr. will stay. Jose Mourinho, of course, the new manager there at Real Madrid, the returning Jose Mourinho, and he's understood to value Vinicius Jr. very, very highly and sees him as having a big place in that team. Remember, we've been speaking about Real Madrid wanting to bring in Jan Diomande from RB Leipzig, and if that would have any impact on Vinicius Jr.'s future, well, Jan Diomande can play on the right-hand side, Kylian Mbappe down the middle, and Vinicius Jr. on his preferred left-hand side. So if all of those pieces were to piece together, that Diomande joins and he signs a new contract, I think it'll be good news for Jose Mourinho.
Sounds like the players won, really, because we were hearing that Vinicius Jr. might be kind of posturing for more money, perhaps even double what he's already on. So it sounds like he's won the battle.
We won't be privy to that kind of information because remember I told you earlier on this afternoon, do Real Madrid maybe hold a few cards as well, even though they look stacked in Vinicius Jr.'s favour because he's only got a year left on his contract. But Real Madrid, do they cut their nose off to spite their face, for want of a better phrase, by saying to Vinicius Jr., well, if you don't sign a new contract, we've got a new player coming in Jan Diomande who can play on the left side of that attack. So you might find that your playing time could be limited. I'm not saying that that's happened, but there will have been a bit of posturing on both sides because Vinicius Jr. clearly, with a year left on his contract, wants to get the best deal possible for himself. Real Madrid want to do the best deal that's possible for the football club. So who knows? Is there a compromise whereby both parties will be happy? That contract hasn't even been signed yet.
No.
They're still in discussions over it, but there is a growing confidence on the Real Madrid side, given this information that we've received this afternoon, that those talks appear to be going positively and they're confident he'll sign a new deal.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall in those discussions, eh?
Very much so.
Very much so. It's busy. Plenty going on in the transfer market. Our reporter Dharmesh Sheth has joined me. It's jolly busy, isn't it, Dharmesh? Always lovely to see you. What can you tell us with Jan Diomande and how that might affect Mr. Vinicius Jr.?
Yeah, let's start with Jan Diomande, first of all, the RB Leipzig winger. Now, it looks like a one-horse race now. As far as Real Madrid are concerned, it looks like he is destined to go to the Bernabeu. Remember, PSG, even Liverpool were interested earlier on this transfer window. It looked like he might end up at PSG, but they publicly withdrew from that race to sign Jan Diomande. Leipzig feel £102 million is a reasonable price for Diomande. There is a small gap in valuation between what Real Madrid are prepared to pay and that £102 million valuation that RB Leipzig have, but not too big that this deal can't go through. At the moment, he's still training with RB Leipzig, but it's not the full-on training, we've been told. They're just trying to protect him because they know that this deal could potentially be close. Now, what impact is this going to have on Vinicius Jr.? We do know that Arsenal are interested. They love the player. They want to bring him to the Emirates. It would cost a lot of money in a transfer fee. It would cost a hell of a lot of money in wages. But that aside, the situation with Real Madrid and Vinicius Jr. is quite a complicated one. He's only got a year left on his contract. Real Madrid, for their part, do not want to see him go for no money at all. And they know in 6 months' time, he can speak to clubs outside Spain and sign a pre-contract agreement. So on the one hand, it feels like the cards are firmly with Vinicius Jr. However, the potential signing of Yan Diomande might just put a little bit of pressure on Vinicius Jr. and just give a few of the cards to Real Madrid, because we know, and Dave Reed explained this really well yesterday, the positioning that Yan Diomande takes up last season and throughout the World Cup as well. He can play on both wings. Now, if Real Madrid can convince Vinicius Jr. to stay and sign a new contract, he's clearly still going to be a mainstay of that team. And you might see a situation where Yan Diomande plays out on the right, Kylian Mbappe in the middle, Vinicius Jr. on the left in his preferred position, which looks fantastic. However, if Real Madrid are starting to see that this deal and this contract is not going to get signed and they don't want to see him go for free, but he may take the approach, well, I can afford to wait now. I can wait till January or next summer and then I'll reassess all of my options. The reason why Real Madrid might feel in their eyes that they might have a few of the cards is they could turn around, and I'm not saying they would do this, it's just a scenario, because Diomande can play in Vinicius Jr.'s position as well. How about they think, well, we'll play Yan Diomande on the left, we'll play Mbappe in the middle, and we might recruit or play somebody else on the right-hand side. So your game time for next season could be limited. Yes, it's that old adage, cutting your nose off to spite your face. But we're talking about a deal that could potentially be worth 130 odd million pounds to Real Madrid compared to no money at all. It is a big, big deal. So I think there is going to be a lot of posturing between the two parties here, because I think, as far as we know, Vinicius Jr. wants to stay at Real Madrid, but he wants to stay on his terms. Real Madrid want Vinicius Jr. to stay, but on their terms. And in the middle of all of this, they are on the verge, it looks like, of signing another winger in Yan Diomande. Watch this space.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? When you say his terms, he's talking about so much more money, like almost doubling his salary, isn't it? That's what we were hearing from Terry Gibson at the weekend. Anyway, the plot thickens on that one. What about the situation at Chelsea? Because they seem to have changed their approach to everything. Jordan Henderson coming through the door potentially with Danny Welbeck. So how will that affect players looking to get out?
In particular, the Danny Welbeck situation. Danny Welbeck and João Pedro will probably be the two first-choice strikers then at Chelsea. What will that mean to the likes of Liam Delap and, in particular, Nicholas Jackson? Remember, Nicholas Jackson is still a Chelsea player who was on loan at Bayern Munich last season. They had an option to buy him. They didn't take up that option, so he is back with Chelsea. Now, one of the clubs that are interested, we shouldn't be surprised at, is Aston Villa. They're managed by Unai Emery. He also managed Nicholas Jackson when he was at Villarreal. The pair know each other very well. Emery has had a long-standing interest in him. They've tried to sign him at Aston Villa before, but he ended up going to Chelsea. And since then, that contact and that interest has remained. However, there is a problem for Aston Villa at the moment with regard to their pursuit or potential pursuit of Nicholas Jackson, and it comes in the form of a new UEFA 45-day transfer rule. Bear with me.
I need to
This has been brought in to regulate how player swap deals are treated for accounting purposes. So what UEFA are trying to clamp down on is how clubs use their accounts when there are deals going on between the same clubs. And if a deal happens within 45 days of each other between two clubs, permanent deals, UEFA would deem that to be a swap deal. And when they deem that to be a swap deal, that would basically mean that they can't immediately post the full profits from that sale. Let me give you an example. Club X sells to Club Y. Then Club Y then buys from Club X. But Club X cannot then, within that, if it's within 45 days, they cannot then post the full accounts and full profits from that deal, because UEFA, in that time frame, will feel that there is some sort of swap deal going on. So they might have to amortize the amount of profit that they make from a particular deal over the length of a contract. Villa, you would think, can't afford to do that because they've made such a humongous profit on the Morgan Rogers deal to Chelsea. So if you look at it from the Villa perspective at the moment, they sold Morgan Rogers to Chelsea. If they bought Nicholas Jackson, they will fall foul of this rule because it would be within 45 days. Because if you waited 45 days after Morgan Rogers signed for Chelsea, it would be after the transfer window.
Yeah.
Villa can still do the deal. They can still buy Nicholas Jackson, but they won't get the full feel of that profit from the Morgan Rogers deal because of this UEFA rule.
Even if it's loads less money, you're saying? So it's,
yeah.
What? Is that very fair?
Because it's the way that clubs have accounted for certain deals. Because, you know, there were question marks being put over certain deals between two clubs, and you thought, why is that player going there and this player going there? Why can't they just call it a swap deal? But they don't want to call it a swap deal because it goes into separate accounts.
Right.
So the alternative is, well, why don't Aston Villa just try and loan Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea? There's another rule. There's a Premier League rule. You cannot loan more than one player from another Premier League club at any one time. And what have Aston Villa just done? They've loaned Alejandro Garnacho from Chelsea with an option to buy, purely because they knew they couldn't buy Alejandro Garnacho right now because of the 45-day rule concerning Morgan Rogers. So I'm not going to say that this deal cannot happen, but Aston Villa know that if they do pursue a deal for Nicholas Jackson in this transfer window, there is a chance that they will fall foul of this UEFA 45-day transfer rule and won't be able to make the most of the immediate profit that they got from the Morgan Rogers transfer.
Goodness me. Well explained. Thank you for that, Darms. Just finally then, I think this one will be slightly easier. Iliman Ndiaye, what can you tell us on him?
So Al Hilal from Saudi Arabia interested. We're told today that Everton are aware of that interest. There's been no offer, no formal club-to-club talks just now. And as far as Everton are concerned, they do not want to sell Iliman Ndiaye. He's got a contract at the Hill Dickinson Stadium until 2029. Al Hilal are looking for a winger, aren't they, at the moment? They're looking at Luis Diaz as well from Bayern Munich. Again, Bayern Munich would not welcome offers for Luis Diaz. They do not want to let him go. They've already bought Crysencio Somerville from West Ham United for £60 million, but definitely one to watch there.
All right, brilliant from you as always. And thanks again for explaining all that. Otherwise, that was rather complicated stuff. Thanks, Darms.